Good morning, everybody. So, we start today Life Divine, page 638.
There are in practical fact two poles of the conscious being between which the evolutionary process works. One a surface nescence which has to change gradually into knowledge, the other a secret consciousness force in which all power of knowledge is and which has slowly to manifest in the nescence. The surface nescence, full of incomprehension and inapprehension, can change into knowledge because consciousness is there involved in it. If it were intrinsically an entire absence of consciousness, the change would be impossible. But still, it works as an inconscience trying to be conscious. It is at first a nescence compelled by need and outer impact to feeling and response, and then an ignorance laboring to know. The means used is a contact with the world and its forces and objects, which, like the rubbing of tinders, creates a spark of awareness. The response from within is that spark leaping out into manifestation. But the surface nescence is in receiving the response from an underlying source of knowledge, subdues and changes it into something obscure and incomplete. There is an imperfect seizure or a misprison of the intuition that answers to the contact. Still, by this process, an intuition of responsive consciousness, a first accumulation of ingrained or habitual instinctive knowledge begins, and there follows upon it first a primitive and then a developed capacity of receptive awareness, understanding, reply of action, provisional initiation of action, an evolving consciousness which is half knowledge, half ignorance. All that is known is met on the basis of what is known. But as this knowledge is imperfect, as it receives imperfectly and responds imperfectly to the contacts of things, there can be a misprison of the new contact as well as a misprison or deformation of the intuitive response, a double error of error.
A double source of error. Okay, so we'll go through para and what he's saying, we'll try and understand what he's saying. Okay. And then after that, I will read the summary to sum it up. Okay, so he's saying there are in practical fact two poles of the conscious being between which the evolutionary process works. One, a surface nescence, which has to change gradually into knowledge. That is our the matter, life and mind, or in the individual, the body, mind, life. Okay, it has to slowly change into knowledge. The other is a secret consciousness force in which all power of knowledge is, and which has slowly to manifest in the nations. So that is and it's already available there in the intraconscient. Remember, that's what he says. So it is trying to come out, and your psychic being also is inside, and it is trying to guide you, but the darkness of the surface consciousness hides the guidance, or rather swallows up the guidance. The darkness swallows up the light. Okay, so in that sense. So now he says, the surface nescence, full of incomprehension and inapprehension. Okay, incomprehension, inability to understand. Inapprehension, unable to grasp. Okay, to apprehend is to grasp, to get into your hand so that you can do what you want with it. So incomprehension, ignorance. Inapprehension, non-possession, if you want, can change into knowledge because consciousness is there involved in it. Okay, we know that consciousness is there even in matter. So naturally, even if you have body, mind, life, it is there. Okay, in fact, it is much more available there in the body, mind, life than in matter. But it's there in matter also. Okay, so because consciousness is there involved in it, it has to slowly come up, just like the flower that blooms from the apparently from nothing, and finally the bud comes out and finally it blooms. Exactly in the same way, everything is there in you, it has to bloom. If it were intrinsically an entire absence of consciousness, the change would be impossible. Because the possibility is there in you that it can come out. Okay, so that's what he said. The seed contains the tree, and because it contains the tree already, then the tree can come out. But if the tree is not involved in it, how can it ever come out? Okay? So that's the thing. So the consciousness is already there in man. The involution. Because of the involution, evolution is possible. But still, it works as an inconscience trying to be conscious. Okay? That's the condition of all men, all our human beings, even to a certain extent the animals. Okay? But in matter, there is no trying even. Okay? There is a very, very faint trial of the divine presence. Because it is divine presence, it tries to very, very slowly, it emerges 1 million years and then life comes out. Another 1 million years, first plants come out. Another million years, animals come out. Okay? It's a very slow process. But when man comes, the process becomes faster and faster. So this is what he's saying. It is that first generation is compelled by need, okay? Compelled by need and outer impact to feeling and response, and then to an ignorance laboring to know. So what does he mean by that? A nation's compelled by need and outer impact to feeling and response. He is referring to the plant and the animal. Okay? He is very clearly referring need. The animal needs feed and sleep and all, okay? Food and sleep. And outer impact to feeling and response. Feeling and response is very clearly only plants and animals. And then an ignorance laboring to know. This is man. Okay? Because you have an ignorance, but we are trying to know. Okay? The means used is a contact with the world and its forces and objects, which, like the rubbing of tinders, creates a spark of awareness. Now, this is a very interesting image he is using. Okay, I remember once I was listening to a video. I was seeing a video of. He was my namesake. He was the president of the Ramakrishna Mission. Okay, his name was Ranganatha Swami. Very, very capable man, and he was in Australia, and he was explaining the Indian system. And he was saying something very interesting. It struck me. I still remember. He said there is the divine in man, and that has to bound to come out. But there is a process for it. And then he used the image of the matchstick. Okay. He says there is fire in matchstick or not. He asked the correspondent. Okay. There is fire, and it's bound to come out if you strike it. So the striking is in yoga. So that's why he explained yoga in this way to me. So that's exactly what Siddhartha is saying. Like the rubbing of tinders. Okay. There is a possibility of fire is there, and you take the 2 stones and rub them, and then a fire comes out. We know that. No? So there are several ways of doing it. The means is a contact with the world. The response from within is like the spark leaping out into manifestation. Rubbing of tinders creates a spark of awareness. This he uses this phrase, creates a spark of awareness in other places also. He says, when I am in the intraconscient, okay, my consciousness comes in contact with another consciousness outside. Okay, but the consciousness is the same in me and the one who is outside. Let us say I am trying to understand what Sunki is saying. Okay, now Sunki has a consciousness and I have a consciousness also. But normally, if I am in my outer nature, I will not know what she is trying to say. I will not understand without her speaking. But if I am in the intraconscient consciousness, okay, then my consciousness will have direct access to her consciousness and a spark is lit. He uses his word in that very interesting way. So, like the 2 tinders, one stone and another stone, you hit them and a spark of light comes out. So, exactly in the same way, because there is already the consciousness in me, I can contact the consciousness in her consciousness, and the 2 will spark and knowledge will come. Okay, that's using that word. Okay, the image he uses. Okay, so like the rubbing of tenders creates a spark of awareness. The response from within is that spark leaping out into manifestation. But the surface nations, in receiving the response from an underlying source of knowledge, subdues and changes it into something obscure and incomplete. The problem is that the divine is helping you from above and from within, both from above and from within. But your darkness swallows up the light that is coming. And yoga is the process by which your darkness becomes less and less and less and less, and your receptivity to the guidance from above and from within becomes more clear and capable of receiving the light. So that's the whole process of yoga, removing your darkness in the surface nature. Now, but the surface nations, in receiving the response from an underlying source of knowledge, subdues and changes it into something obscure and incomplete. There is an imperfect seizure. Okay? Sometimes you can get some aspect of it, imperfect seizure. He's using the word seizure here, and above here he uses the word inapprehension. Okay, basically the same. Okay. Where is it? Yeah, inapprehension. He's using one word. Now he's using the word seizure. It's the same. The possession. Okay, so imperfect seizure or a misprision. Okay. Now the word is pronounced misprision. Okay, there's an SI, but it's pronounced Z-like. Okay, so the word comes also later on, and it means misunderstanding and misinterpretation. Misprision. Okay, so you have to pronounce it J. Okay, misprision. I have checked it, and that's what I'm telling you. So, the word comes lower down also, it comes once more. Misprision. There is an imperfect seizure or a misprision of the intuition that answers to the contact. The intuition is coming down from above or from within, and your surface consciousness, depending on how thin your darkness is, receives the contact, but imperfectly. Still, by this process, an initiation of responsive consciousness, a first accumulation of ingrained or habitual instinctive knowledge begins. Okay? So, a first accumulation of ingrained or habitual instinctive knowledge begins. Okay? We're talking about the instinctive animals also. Okay? And there follows upon it, there follows upon it first a primitive and then a developed capacity of receptive awareness. So primitive in the animal, even the plant, okay? And then a developed capacity of receptive awareness is man. Understanding, reply of action, previsional. Okay, this is the interesting word, previsional. Okay, before the vision comes. Okay, previsional initiation of action. Before the action takes place, you get a vision of something. Okay? That's what it's saying. An evolving consciousness, which is half knowledge, half ignorance. This is a condition of man. Okay? All that is unknown is met on the basis of what is known. Okay? But as this knowledge is imperfect, as it receives imperfectly and responds imperfectly to the context of things, there can be a misprision of the new contact as well as a misprision or deformation of the intuitive response, a double source of error. So, which is the double source of error? It's coming from inside, okay? New contact as well as misprision or deformation of the intuitive response. Either a wrong grasping or actually you are deforming the intuition that is coming in. It's a double source of error. Okay, so now I'm summarizing the para. Okay, very interesting para what he's saying. He's trying to tell us the origin of sin and falsehood, okay, and evil. Okay, so which appears only in the evolution, not in the involution. In every involution coming down, you are starting from light and consciousness. So there can be no evil end. But when it comes down from matter, when it is going up, evil and all these things come up. So at what level does it come up? He is analyzing one by one, very detailed one. I am reading the summary of what we just now read. There are two extremities. One second. There are two extremities of our being. One, a surface in conscience, and the second is a secret hidden consciousness plunged and involved in the nations of matter. The evolution moves between these two. The evolution that is happening, it's a battle between the darkness of the surface nature and the light in the which is hidden inside. Okay, there is a secret hidden consciousness plunged and involved in the nations of matter. The evolution moves between these two ends. The secret involved consciousness rises in an evolutionary ascent and slowly unveils itself. Man's surface consciousness is full of ignorance, dullness, darkness, but this can change precisely because of the involved knowledge from the involved knowledge in the inconscient. If the spirit were not involved in consciousness, okay, no evolution would be possible. Nothing can come out of nothing. First arises feeling, which is life. Okay. Next comes knowledge, which is mind. Okay. The method used by nature is the individual being's limited knowledge interacting with the external world, which produces a response in the individual. Just as tinders rubbing against each other produces spark. But the spark becomes, in the surface consciousness, a subdued, small, imperfect, incomplete response to the impact from the external world. The knowledge hidden in the depths rises to the surface but becomes a misprision, which is misunderstanding and misinterpretation. However imperfect, it is by the slow and difficult process that knowledge increases in the evolutionary ascent. Slowly there is an increasing light, reducing the darkness. There is a consciousness reducing the unconsciousness. There is a knowledge reducing the ignorance. The process proceeds by the unknown from the world meeting the known, which enlarges itself. But because of imperfection, both incoming unknown and the known within, the incoming unknown and the known within can be misunderstood and subjected to error. This is what he said. So now, this is one source of error. Okay? Life, when it comes, is one source of error. The error continues even into the mind plane. Okay? So that is what he's saying. Okay? So now we can go to the next para. But he's already told you the beginning of error. And error, when it comes, then a wrong action can take place, a wrong feeling can take place. No? So this is the first indication of the source. Error, mistake, because you're starting from ignorance. You can read the next one. Yasmin, you have the text, you can read the next one. It is evident.
No, I don't have Life Divine.
Okay. Then Sunki, can you read?
Yes, I will read.
Okay. Go ahead. It is evident.
It is evident in these conditions that error is a necessary accompaniment, almost a necessary condition and instrumentation, an indispensable step or stage in the slow evolution towards knowledge in a consciousness that begins from nescience and works in the stuff of a general nescience. The evolving consciousness has to acquire knowledge by indirect means, which does not give even a fragmentary certitude, for there is at first only a figure or a sign, an image or a vibration physical in character, created by contact with the object and a resulting vital sensation, which have to be interpreted by mind and sense, and turned into a corresponding mental idea of or figure. Things thus experienced and mentally known have to be related together. Things unknown have to be observed, discovered, fitted into the already acquired sum of experience and knowledge. At each step, different possibilities of effect, significance, judgment, interpretation, relation present themselves. Some have to be tested and rejected, others accepted and confirmed. To shut out error is impossible without limiting the chances of acquisition of knowledge. Observation is the first instrument of the mind, but observation itself is a complex process open at every step to the mistakes of the ignorant observing consciousness. Misprision of the fact by the senses and the sense mind, omission, wrong selection, and putting together unconscious additions made by a personal impression or personal reaction create a false or an imperfect composite picture. To these errors are added the errors of inference, judgment, interpretation of facts by the intelligence. When even the data are not sure or perfect, the conclusions built on them must also be insecure and imperfect.
The very first sentence is very interesting, okay, which means that error is absolutely essential to acquire knowledge, because you are starting from the ignorance, you are starting from inconscience, you are starting from darkness. So if there is darkness, how will you know where to go? You don't know. You have to grope. Groping is there, and that's necessary. If you don't grope, you'll see exactly you will be in the same place. So, in other words, this suffering also has a purpose in life. Okay. So that is slowly he will come to that. Okay. So error is inevitable. Error is inevitable because you have to grow. And if you and why should you grow? You can say, I don't want to grow. But the divine consciousness is there in matter. Whether you want it or not, the divine consciousness wants to go back to where it came from. The pressure from below is there. There is a pressure from above also, but that's another matter. Okay. But the pressure from below is there. And that is why life comes out, and that is why mind comes out. Okay. So error is there. Okay. So that's what very interesting argument. Okay. If error is there, then also suffering and evil also are necessary, because they are stages on the upward ascent. I am reading each sentence. It is evident in these conditions, the conditions we described above, that there is a fight between the darkness and the light. There is a fight between the ignorance and the knowledge which is already there inside. In these conditions, that error is a necessary accompaniment, almost a necessity, almost a necessary condition and instrumentation, an indispensable step or stage in the slow evolution towards knowledge in a consciousness that begins from nations and works in the stuff of a general nations. General nations is the universe. Just 1 minute, I'm getting a phone call. Sorry for the interruption. There is some work to be done at home, and that's why the house maintenance service phoned me. Okay, so error. Okay, and note interestingly how error he has put in E cap. Okay, it's a principle. It's a fundamental principle. It's not just a casual error. Error is necessary to progress. Only when you make an error, you know what to avoid, and then you know what to do. Okay, so it's so interesting the way he looks at things. In synthesis, also elsewhere, you remember, he says error is ever the handmaiden of truth. Okay, they go together in the physical world. Okay, so the evolving consciousness has to acquire knowledge by an indirect means. You remember the indirect means? Through senses, okay, which does not give even a fragmentary certitude. The way I am looking through my eyes, there are other animals who have got much better sight. Okay, so my eyes, all my senses are absolutely imperfect. They are not at all giving me the reality. Okay, so that's what he's saying. So indirect means, remember we have discussed this indirect means already once before. He has already explained to us. Indirect means the senses come between me and the object to be known. Okay, so which does not give even a fragmentary certitude. For there is at first only a figure or a sign, an image or a vibration, physical in character, created by contact with the object and resulting vital sensation, which have to be interpreted by mind and sense and turned into a corresponding mental idea or figure. Now, note very interestingly what he's saying. Our senses are giving me only pictures. Okay, are giving me only pictures. Okay, and those pictures have to be interpreted by a mind, which is a manas. Okay, now this is very interesting because if you give the example of the baby, it becomes very obvious. The baby's senses, all his senses are working. Okay, he's seeing, he's hearing, he can even taste, but taste question doesn't arise in a newborn baby. He can hear, see, and touch. Okay, all these. But does he understand anything at all? No, because they are only pictures. He sees his so-called mother, but mother is not a mother at all. Okay? That the manas has to be trained to be able to say. Okay, so this is what Swami is saying in the sentence. The evolving consciousness has to acquire knowledge by an indirect means, our senses, which does not give even a fragmentary certitude. For there is at first only a figure or a sign. I am seeing an image, I am hearing a sound, but I don't know what it means. My mind and my manas has to interpret the image. Then only I can understand. Or a vibration. A figure or a sign, an image or a vibration. Vibration, the sound is vibration. Figure and sign, image are optical. Vibration is auditory. Okay? Physical in character, created by contact with the object and resulting vital sensation, which have to be interpreted by mind. There you are. So the interpretation by mind is the manas. And that is not possible in a child. So it is acquired through experience, and with age, the brain is programmed, if you want. The programming is not there. Okay? No computer will be able to function without a program. That programming is what is the interpretation. By mind and sense and turned into a corresponding mental idea or figure. So the image is turned into a mental idea. Then you understand. Okay? That's what he's saying. Things thus experienced and mentally known have to be related together. All the things that we are experiencing, they have to be related together. Things unknown have to be observed, discovered, fitted into the already acquired sum of experience and knowledge. They say that whatever is your consciousness, a new idea or a new thought or a new something coming, you try to fit it into whatever your nature is. You try to fit it. And when you don't understand, they say it's like trying to fit a square in a circle. You don't understand. But when it fits, then you say you understand. Whatever is your knowledge, the incoming thing has to adjust itself to your existing knowledge. Okay? If it doesn't fit, then you don't understand. Things as experienced and mentally known have to be related together. Things unknown have to be observed, discovered, fitted into the already acquired sum of experience and knowledge. At each step, different possibilities of fact, significance, judgment, interpretation, relation present themselves. It's very interesting. Huh? Suppose someone tells me something, it may not be a fact. So that's the first possibility. Okay. Then even if it's a fact, significance. Okay. Okay. Suppose someone says that I saw a quarrel between two enemies. Okay? The quarrel may be a fact, but the enemies may not be. There may be two friends fighting. So significance of the fact also has to be seen. Then you have to make your own judgment, okay, and interpretation. Why did that happen? Relation present themselves. So many sources of error can come. Okay? Some have to be tested and rejected. Others accepted and confirmed. Okay? And sometimes we do feel that what I am hearing or what I am seeing is not possible. Okay. Nowadays, that is there very much in the the fake videos that are coming. Huh? They are able to now make videos with small children speaking wisdom. Okay, I don't know if people have seen that, but all fake. There's no reality at all. So many things are possible. So you have to use your discrimination. Some things you have to reject, some things you have to accept. Okay, so some have to be tested and rejected, others accepted and confirmed. To shut out error is impossible without limiting the chances of acquisition of knowledge. So, error is coming in, giving you the chance to get knowledge. Observation is the first instrument of the mind. But observation itself is a complex process, open at every step to the mistakes of the ignorant observing consciousness. Misprision of the fact by the senses and the sense mind. The sense mind is the manas. Omission, wrong selection, and putting together unconscious additions made by a personal impression or personal reaction create a false or an imperfect composite picture. So, to these errors are added the error of inference, judgment, interpretation of facts by the intelligence. If 10 people are looking at a particular scene, each of them will interpret it in a different way. Okay? This is a very interesting principle, and this was a principle used by a Japanese film which became fantastically popular. The film is called Rashomon. Okay? Rashomon, and it made a tremendous impact in the world because exactly the interpretation of one event by 4 or 5 people. Each one is giving a different interpretation. So it is a philosophical film suggesting this very thing. So many people seeing the same thing, everybody will give you a different interpretation. Not a single one will be the same. Okay, so this is what he's saying. To these errors are added the errors of inference, judgment, interpretation of facts by the intelligence. When even the data are not sure or perfect, the conclusions built on them must also be insecure and imperfect. Insecure, you cannot be sure, and imperfect. So, he is explaining how the error is necessary, but your reaction to all these things will be imperfect. So, he's slowly going towards, inching towards evil, okay, falsehood and error. And suffering. He's going to explain to us. So, we have, it's 36. So, we have only 4 minutes left. So, we can't read the next one. How big is the next one? Let's see. Tomorrow we have life divine, right? So, okay, we'll do this tomorrow. Consciousness in its acquisition of knowledge. So, very detailed description of the whole thing. It's a fight between, at the lower level, in level 1, it's a fight between the darkness and the light. And so therefore you are starting from darkness, therefore you will have to make errors to find out the truth. If you are going through a jungle, there are 2 paths, you don't know which path to take. You don't know. So you take one path and you find it's a mistake. Now you know. You have gained the knowledge that the other path is the right one. So error is the one that points out the right thing to you. Okay? That's basically what is saying in the paragraph. But error is necessary. If you want to progress, you should not be afraid of mistakes. It's very interesting. The other day someone came and was saying that there is proposal for me to get married, okay? But I'm hesitating. So, because the fear is if I make a mistake and the relation does not work out. So I said, you go by your gut feeling. Don't be afraid of a mistake. You learn from the mistake. Children also come to me and ask me, okay, what should I do? I'm feeling like becoming a journalist, or I'm thinking of becoming a fashion designer. So what should I do? How to know? The answer is very clear. You don't know. And you should not, you make a choice and learn. Then the argument goes on, but I have lost 4 or 5 years. That is not a problem. What is 4 or 5 years? In a series of lifetimes, each life you are learning. So don't be afraid of mistakes. That's the whole thing. Okay. So we stop here today. And tomorrow we'll continue with consciousness in its acquisition of knowledge. Okay?
Merci beaucoup.
Okay.
Thank you, Nandana. Varva, Nandana.
Yeah. You all.
Thank you, Nandana.